Hello viewers, today now we have to discuss another topics in a statistical subject. In a statistics subject, that is what do you mean by probability? That is meaning of probability. So this is discusses below. Suppose that a bag contains 100 balls of exactly the same size and shape, of which 10 are colored and 90 white. If these balls are well mixed and one of them is drawn at random, it is intuitively clear that there is a greater chance or probability of drawing a white ball than of drawing a colored ball. This is a rather vague notion, and we want to quantify the probability of a physical event so that we can say how uncertain or how likely the event is. For this numerical measurement, we have to agree on a scale, and the standard convention is that probabilities range from 0 to 1, with impossible events assigned probability 0 and uncertain events assigned probability 1. The intermediate probabilities are assigned in such a way that the more likely an event is, the greater will be its probability. If a symmetrical die is thrown on any one of the six faces, may be uppermost when the die comes to rest. This group of cases is exhaustive because at least one of them must materialize. These cases are also mutually exclusive or incompatible, since on two faces can be uppermost simultaneously. The number of cases favorable to an event A are those that have the required attribute. Thus, in the die throwing experiment, we may regard any one of the numbers 2, 4, and 6 landing on top as corresponding to the event and event number. If the die is a perfect cube made of a homogeneous material, it would perhaps be reasonable to assume that when the die stops, one faces is as likely to be on top as another. The six outcomes are equally likely. Similarly, if an ordinary bridge deck is thoroughly shuffled and a card is drawn at random, we say that each card has the same chance of being drawn as every other card. All the 52 cards are equally likely. In general, two outcomes of an experiment are considered as equally probably it. After all, relevant evidence has been taken into account. One of them, it may not be expected rather than the other. It is the symmetry and homogeneity of the die and the similarity of cards that make us feel that the outcomes in the above experiments are equally likely. Empirical evidence also supports this. Thus, when an ordinary die is thrown a large number of times, it is found that one face of the die appears on top as often as another. So viewers, there is no universal agreement as to the definition of probability, but the need not concern us because at the mathematical level there is no disagreement where whatever definition we adopt. We discuss below the classical and the frequency distribution of probability, and this is adequate of our purposes. Let us first define what we mean by an experiment and an event in this context. What is experiment? An experiment is an act that can be repeated under given condition. An event is a set of specific outcomes that can result from an experiment. So viewers, we have to discuss the what do meaning of probability, that is what do you mean by probability. So in next time we have to discuss another topics in a statistical subject.